Final Fantasy, what happened? You and I, we had a relationship. We had great times together. I had expectations, and most of the time you actually delivered. But now, Final Fantasy, you changed. You changed.
Well, changed is an understatement. The series went through a complete overhaul. Why Square felt the need to fix something that wasn't broken is beyond me, but I'm sure that most of you have noticed that the series has indeed been on a decline. The most obvious have been with such destined to be classics such as number 13 and 14. But the reality of the matter is the decline has been going on for over a decade. Final Fantasy has reached its peak at number 7, but then it began to go downhill. Why is that? Well, some people blame it on the gameplay, some the story, but personally, I blame it on the characters. Many aspects of the game can be forgiven if the characters are interesting and engaging. Having important roles in the story, being involved in a plot twist, and dare I say it, bring genuine emotion to the game's experience. Most of you know what I mean when I say this. Many of the frustrations I have with the games are due to the characters. They're either annoying, whiny, childish. Some are so useless that writing them out would have no effect on the game's plot whatsoever. So I decided to make a list. Seeing that there are 14 games in the main Final Fantasy canon, this is going to be a top 14. So sit back and enjoy Chibi Neko's top 14 most despised characters of Final Fantasy. Number 14. Relm from Final Fantasy VI. While Relm was a complete brat, I was actually able to put up with her fairly well. But if you play the American version on the SNES, Relm actually had the ability to break your cartridge, and that was enough to piss anyone off. Just finishing getting the gem box? Well, fuck that, because if Relm sketches the wrong enemy, you can kiss your save file goodbye. This glitch mostly happens on the Triangle Island. If Relm uses her sketch skill on a certain enemy, especially if they're invisible, the game will freak out and you could lose your entire saved file. Hell, there are even some reports of entire cartridges getting ruined. These glitches were fixed in re-releases of the game, but even so, many people still fear having Relm in their party due to the bitter memory of having their game hours erased. Leaving an everlasting fear in the minds of gamers, Relm has earned the 14th spot on this list. Number 13. Snow from Final Fantasy XIII. I like characters that are confident but yet have a sense of modesty. Snow isn't terrible, but jeez, he likes to toot his own horn an awful lot, doesn't he? Just by looking at him you can tell that he has an important role in the story, but no, he has to go a step further by declaring himself the hero every fucking chance he gets. Now, Final Fantasy XIII was not only a stupid game, but it felt compelled to treat its audience the same way. Duh, are the games gonna know who the hero is? They might, but we better make sure by having the hero declaring himself as such. Oh, I hate games like that, and it doesn't help that he's engaged to marry a girl that looks like she's 12. Yeah, he doesn't look like a pedophile at all. Number 12. Yuna from Final Fantasy X. Now, before you get your controllers in a bunch, I actually kinda liked Yuna in number 10. She was burdened with the responsibility of sacrificing herself in order to save an entire world from an evil that would reincarnate itself over time. But she still thought it would be worth it to bring a calm to the people, even though it would be temporary. She was humble, sweet, and she had this sacred air about her that many viewed her as a priestess of some kind. Sure, she made mistakes, but it was mainly due to her naive nature, mixed with her drive to do the right thing. So, why do I have her on the 12th position on this list? Because of this. How the fuck do you go from being a humble, quiet, holy woman to a singing, half-naked, half-brained piece of jack-off material who thinks the way to saving the world is by having a concert? The answer is you don't. Square actually took a character that was pretty decent and saw as nothing more than a piece of fan service material. Gee, Square, talk about fucking up literally. You are willing to whore out one of your own characters for some extra cash. I guess pimping fictional characters really is possible. Number 11. Vaughn from Final Fantasy XII. Vaughn is useless. Vaughn is insignificant. Vaughn has nothing to do with the story whatsoever. He didn't do anything in the game. He was just a dumbfounded observer with a few lines of dialogue. So, the game starts off with the wedding of the Princess Ashe. Not long afterwards, war breaks out and she loses her husband as a result. She then goes into hiding using suicide as a cover, and we cut to Vaughn. What does this have to do with anything? The fact of the matter, he doesn't. The only thing he wants to be is a sky pirate. Okay, this has to do with ending a war. How? Not a goddamn thing. This is Square being lazy. They feel the cast is too small, so they add a few extras. Vaughn and Vanille are the kind of characters you place in the game to be optional, like Omaro and Gogo in number 6, or Yuffie and Vincent in number 7. The real protagonists were Ashe and Balthair. Vaughn, he was an easy write-off. Number 10. Tidas from Final Fantasy X. At first, I did not mind Tidas that much, given the sunny disposition that protagonists in previous games had. Tidas' cheerful attitude was a breath of fresh air, until you get past the first hour. This guy acts like he's 5. He's oblivious to his surroundings. He whines about his daddy issues, and all the while he boasts that this is his story.
Listen to my story.
No, it's not! Unlike Vaughn, he does indeed play some role in this game, but that doesn't mean he should be the center of attention. That person is Yuna. It's really her adventure, and fuck it. His voice actor doesn't really help matters. It just makes me want to punch this guy in the balls even more. Oh, just shut up! Number 9. Irvine from Final Fantasy VIII. You know the kind of guy who flirts casually but still behaves like a gentleman? Well, Irvine is nothing like that. He hits on anything with a set of tits, and he's not a gentleman about it either. He's just a flat-out, self-proclaimed ladies' man, who also isn't very bright. Okay, look. Edgar and Zidane were flirts too, but at least they were mature enough when they had to be and stepped up to the call of leadership. Irvine agrees to assassinate the sorceress and then gets all whiny and bails out at the last second. Okay, look, I know the reason why he stops, but given that he knew who the sorceress is, why on earth did he agree to assassinate her to begin with? He's a student of Garden. You'd think they have pictures of their target laying around. He even knows the entire cast, yet he won't even say so, although the behavior of them not knowing who he is rather suspicious. And he hits on Selphie. That alone is not very bright. Not only is Irvine a character that is stupid, but Square's means of incorporating him into the plot was pretty stupid too. Number 8. Hope from Final Fantasy XIII. This guy is the biggest wet blanket in the history of video games. Even one of the most deceiving. Okay, when I first saw his picture, I thought, he looks kinda cool. And with a name like Hope, he must be some kind of mysterious guy like Chaos from Xenosaga. But no, he is nothing like that. He just whines and complains and bitches the entire time. If there was a way I could leave him behind in the woods, I would. Now, I will give the guy some credit for growing a pair by the end of the game, but damn, it took forever. ever. I can understand where the name Hope comes from, because you're constantly hoping that he shuts up. Number 7. Quina from Final Fantasy IX. Why? Why does this thing exist? What does it do? Quina is very much like Van. He's useless. He has no point in the game. He doesn't contribute anything to the story whatsoever. The only reason I can think of as to why Square added him to the game was to have a balance in the classes. Final Fantasy IX was returned to its root, and so they wanted to have the basic job classes involved. They had their knight, their thief, summoner, white mage, black mage, dragoon, and ninja. But they needed a blue mage. No room for one in the story, so Square got lazy and added a random creature that joins the party for the sole reason of finding more things to eat. Brilliant! I ask again, why on earth didn't they just add Quina as an optional character? He has no purpose other than Square just wanting to have a blue mage in the game. Final Fantasy IX was actually a great game, and Quina is a blunder that just doesn't have an excuse. Number 6. Rikka from Final Fantasy X. Okay, I'm just going to start off by saying that almost every male gamer I know of actually likes Rikka. Why? She's so annoying! She's nothing more than a piece of jail bait. She's only 15. I don't know what it is about men and underage game chicks, but damn! You guys really need to stop and think about this here. And I'm sorry, acting all peppy and cutesy-woosy and having a pet name for your cousin just annoys me. She's just eye candy to lonely gamers, and she's the kind of personality that forbids me to have respect for. I mean, if I was on a quest that determined the fate of the entire world, having someone who cocks her head to the side and jumps up and down every time she's happy and acts so cutesy to the point of foolishness is just someone I can't take seriously. This is why adventurers need resumes, because all characters like Rikka does is bat her eyelashes and she's in. It just pisses me off. Number 5. Selphie from Final Fantasy VIII. Selphie suffers from the same problems that Rikka does, and for some ungodly reason, people like her. Why? Now, to her credit, Selphie does pass the SEED exam and becomes a full-fledged mercenary, but how on earth can people take her seriously? This girl is not on sugar, she's on speed. She has to be. She's like Rikka in all aspects, but goes a step further by dancing around, making poses, and saying the dumbest things. Trains, trains, I love trains! Ugh, fuck you, Selphie! Number 4. Yuffie from Final Fantasy VII. Why do people recruit this brat? I'll tell you why. Her limit break is a good replacement for heiresses. That's it. When you bump into her, you have to fight her. Okay, fair enough. But if you win, well, if you call that winning, she acts like a complete asshole, and if you select the right options, she joins you. Now, I actually selected the options that I was sure would repel her, but she still weaseled into my party, and to make things worse, if you go to her home country, she steals all your materia. And then you have to do an entire side mission just to get it back. Fighting bosses without your magic, not being able to level up your materia. But it doesn't end there, oh no. This little ninja misfit pops up in other Final Fantasy VII games. And it doesn't matter whether she is younger or older, she's still a complete brat. She doesn't change, she doesn't learn anything. Even when you get your materia back, she still doesn't regret her actions. I tell you, if she was my child, I would have spanked her until the moon turned blue, because I guarantee you her parents didn't do anything to discipline this vile rugrat. Number 3. Vanille from Final Fantasy XIII. If you you ask me, Vanille was the more central character throughout this game. She was the game's narrator, and she did play a major role in the story's past and conclusion. She knew much more than what the rest of the cast believed. I even liked her design, so what's my problem? The whole being stupid is cute persona. She runs into situations not really knowing what she's doing while dragging people in with her. She bounces around like Selfie did, and even though she's supposed to have this mysterious air about her, you would not know from her behavior. You see, there's a difference between being kind-hearted and just being plain ditzy. Let's take Eris, for example. She really was mysterious. Even the way she talked made me kind of think she was a little odd, but not in a bad way. She was cute in a non-disgusting way, and like Vanille, she knew more than what she was letting on. The difference being that Eris just withheld information. Vanille literally played stupid. I guess you can tell from the last few entries in my list that I have a strong distaste for the over-the-top, cutesy, naive personalities. What is it about these characters that people find so attractive? It reminds me of Paris Hilton. She admitted that acting stupid was considered cute and thus the reason for her behavior. What, do men like stupid girls or something? I've never been able to figure this out. Number 2. Rinoa from Final Fantasy VIII. I fucking hate this bitch. Final Fantasy VIII is one of my most hated games, and Rinoa is one of the reasons for this. In fact, almost all of the characters contribute to my hatred of this game. The central theme of Final Fantasy VIII is supposed to be love. And let me tell you, it's not subtle. When you see Rinoa, the first thing she does is run up to Squall to dance with him. It's almost as if the game is saying, hey, dumbass, pay attention, because these two are going to be in love. No shit. What Rinoa sees in a guy is beyond me. Squall is obviously irritated by her presence from the get-go. Maybe Grandpa Simpson was onto something with his infamous words of wisdom.
I read a book that said women like jerks.
But how does this love story begin? It is ridiculous. It starts out as harassment. I mean, not only does Rinoa hang over Squall all the time, but she even goes as far as to ask Zell to get Squall's ring. Why? Because she wants to wear it? Why? That's just bizarre, not to mention creepy. I mean, can you imagine if I did that?
Psst, hey Holly. What? That guy over there. Do you think he's cute?
It's okay.
You don't suppose you could go over there and get his ring for me?
Why?
I don't know.
She hardly knows the guy and she wants to wear one of his rings? The rest of the cast isn't much better. They purposely set up a concert to set the mood for Rinoa and Squall. And while the garden is attacked, the party insists to Squall that only he can save her from falling over the garden. Why Squall? What is it that he can do that all of you put together can't? I've never seen such lazy writing. They may as well have been saying, but Squall, you're the main character, thus meaning only you can save her. It's almost as if the writers couldn't think of anything. They were just told that out of this mess of a game, Squall and Rinoa somehow have to end up together, no matter how stupid it is. And you know what? It is stupid. Good love stories start as subtle. The characters slowly get to know each other and then come to the terms that they really did develop feelings for each other through dire circumstances. This didn't happen. It was just a bunch of teenagers playing matchmaker. Even Squall's aware of this. And I'll be honest, I was considering adding Squall to this list, but you know what? His attitude is justified. Just look at the people he has to work with. If I was in his shoes, I'd act like a jerk too. Rinoa's stupid, obsessive, and just isn't interesting. Hell, one of my most favorite scenes of the game was when she was hanging off the side of the garden. The entire time I was yelling at the screen, drop, 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 drop! And my number one most despised character of Final Fantasy is Serah from Final Fantasy XIII. She is what you call the Mary Sue of the game. She is portrayed as the perfect yet tragic heroine of the game. The fact that she looks and dresses like she's 12 years old and is engaged to get married is creepy enough, but the game tries its best to thrust her importance on the audience. Look at her! She's happy! Now she's sad. She's a love interest to the male protagonist. She's the sister of the female protagonist. She is so important. You must love her now! The game tries to go further to attach her to the audience by having her admit that she's a lassie. A lassie is someone who is cursed with a black tattoo and is forced to complete a focus, which is kind of like a mission. And after completing it, she turns to crystal. This happens at the very beginning of the game, and all the other characters are freaking out over it, as if we're supposed to care. Well, I don't care. You know why? Because I don't know anything about her. How she became a lassie is never explained. But as the game goes on, you do see flashbacks of Serah interacting with some of the other characters, and the game portrays her as some sort of holier-than-thou figure who always seems to have the right answers. Does this change how I feel about her? Do I care about her now? No, I don't! I might have cared if she was turned to crystal after spending some time with her and seeing her pass with the rest of the cast, but that's not what happened. How on earth am I supposed to care what happens to a character if I'm not invested in them? There's a reason people cried at the death of Varys in Final Fantasy VII. She was interesting. She was sweet, but not annoying. She was wise, but did not flaunt it. And the events of her past and present really allowed people to get attached to her. And even though she died, her story still seemed to continue as Cloud and the others proceeded with their journey. The fact that her death got such a huge reaction from the gaming community in general meant that she succeeded as a character. People wanted to know more about her despite already having a lot to go on. Can you imagine playing Final Fantasy VII for the first time and being introduced to the game with this? Sure, it may be confusing at first, but then the story continues with the character absent. But then you learn about her past as the game progresses. Do you think we would have cared much more about her? No, we wouldn't. And it was almost as if Square expected its audience to do the same thing when they tried it with Serah. It is apparent that Square was trying to create another heiress, but they went about it in the wrong order. You don't just kill off a character right off the bat and expect the players to care. We have to get to know the person first before we become emotionally invested in them. It is because of this that to me, Serah is my most despised character in Final Fantasy. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel, because the little bitch dies in the sequel, and did I care? No, I didn't.